play some Tactical OSR. This is a game that is in alpha. It is going to be compatible with the other OSR games that we have, Fantasy OSR, Fantasy Hexcrawl, and the soon-to-be-released Fantasy Nocturne, which is a set of 36 hexagon underworlds that can be played with any of these systems or your other favorite roleplay game. You've probably seen all this before. I'm going to start with no magical items. I'm going to play red sellsword. I'm level 1 with 12 hit points. And the new thing that you might note up here is the fact that I'm going to roll a d6, and I'm going to roll that d6 4 times to determine my agility, perception, dexterity, and vigor. Here they come. 1, 2, 3, 4. Terrible rolls. But, as you will see from play, terrible rolls start terrible, but they don't continue that way. I have no agility. I have, well, very little agility. I have a 2. I have a 1 for dexterity, but as a sellsword, I have to be a minimum of 2 there, and a vigor of 5. Well, I'm a big strapping youth going into the underworld. I will fight this little scenario here, the 1-1 Den of Thieves. That also adds the 1-1 condition to my flares. My evil flares that can come up. I will enter through this stairs down, and I will try to go through the north wardroom. There's more advantage if I can go through the south. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make a perception roll to know that I should take the other stairwells into this Den of Thieves. So I might test that on perception. I got a good old 2. If I roll a 1 or a 2, I'm successful. If I fail this roll, I'm going to just continue going down into the path that I'm taking now. Let me roll the die. A 5. I am unsuccessful. My perception, you would think, wow, he failed a roll. He must be dropping. No, 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 no. As you fail a roll, you increase. As you're successful with a roll, you drop. And if you ever attempt a roll, pass or fail, on a stat of 1, it automatically goes to 5. If you ever roll at a stat of 6, which would be an automatic success, you drop to a 3. So here I am. I have the bash ability as a gambit, and I have liabilities of enemies that I have in town, and I have no magical items, and I'm going to enter the underworld as my perception dictated down the stairs here, and then I got a door. Now, that door is going to be generated by a set of encounters. Now, I might decide that encounter that I need to unlock that door. So I need to make a perception roll in order to unlock that door. Let me go to my perception. Now, that just improved. So the theory behind this is everyone who enters underworlds and dungeons and adventures, there is no expert at climbing or expert at pickpocket. We are all experts at adventuring. Yet sometimes our abilities are lapsing a bit, we're getting unlucky, or sometimes we're focused, and we're especially focused when we have failed the last roll, especially more complacent when we make the last roll. Perception of 3, and a 1, 2, or 3, I can use my perception and I can open that door without making any rattle. A 3, so I have opened that door successfully and entered the area here. Now there's 2 sets of men in this area guarding the place. One set are archers behind a blind, and a second set are just regular soldiers who are probably either moving water casks or just standing guard. Now when I enter the room, you can assume there's a certain amount of light that I can either illuminate the whole thing as a referee, or since I'm playing here, I'm going to allow myself a little bit of stealth. So I'm going to hide from these monsters. So the first thing I do when I want to hide, I go to a task. And the task of hide is a 1-4 ordeal. It is a desperate act. So a 1-4 ordeal says that I can hide a patrol or something terrible. The primary stat would be perception. And once again, I'm up here in the perception. Now I made that last perception roll, so what should happen? I went to a 2. Now I can try hiding from these guys on a roll of a 1 or a 2. A 1. So I'm successful. And that successful roll means that I can come up and probably ambush these guys next to the water cask, next to the ancient idol, without activating the archers behind the grid. So the first thing I roll for combat is I have to roll for the mob setup. So let me roll a d6. And this, I get a 2, and all mobs are placed adjacent to the character starting the battle. Ooh, that would be an ugly thing for me at level 1. Should I try it anyway? It's a d6 plus 6. 4. 10 guys that would be surrounding me if I decided to do it that way. That doesn't sound like the best of things for me. Let me put myself on the grid here. And do I want 10 guys surrounding me right at the start? Or do I want to use a point of luck and put them over here on this edge of the map? Actually, it would put him right here, closer to me, but a little way. I'm going to go ahead and risk this. If I die, I die. Let me put these guys on the map. There are 10 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. 10 of them all surrounding me, and then I would go into combat. Now, combat is going to be where you're going to roll your combat result. These are all similar games, OSR. Same sort of philosophy. I'm not necessarily picking my opponent, rolling to hit, and then he's trying to roll the hit back, and we're keeping track of all the hit points. Everything is from the player perspective. So I'm going to roll my die. I want high, a 2. Now, a 2 would normally be that I'm manhandled. It's not a terrible roll, because way down the list here, I gain the Fury at the end of it. I can throw both my luck and my dirty tricks, which are my 2 aces. And by throwing those into it, I can get a 4 as a respite. But I know from the game rules that even if I have a respite, all these guys around me are going to be delivering damage. So I might as well have some effectiveness from this by taking the manhandled roll. So I'm going to move all the monsters 1 space. They can't move. You know, they're as close as they can get. Count the damage delivered. Non-humans must be adjacent to the enemy to deliver damage. So I took 6 points of damage. Are there any demi-humans? Are there any undead? Are there any true monsters or main threat? No, these are all just normal guys because I'm only a level 1 person. And then do I have the liability of Sweetheart? I do not. My liability is enemies. Do I have the option to slay my war dog to absorb 5 points of that damage? No, I don't have any dogs in the battle. Someone must suffer those 6 points of damage around. Compare that damage to my hit points and subtract it off. So I have lost 6 points out of my 12. I have no magical items. I have not used any of my aces. I have taken 6 points of damage. Continuing down the grid here, slay 1 non-human or undead. Okay, well, I can slay the non-human. I'll slay the guy. They're all going to shift around anyway. I'll just slay the guy in front of me. And I move on. Suffer wear and tear. Now, wear and tear is going to be a die 6 roll. And I rolled a 6. And the result is going to be drop a protection step on shield. And that would mean if I had a +1 shield, it would be for the rest of this battle +0 shield. This will only recover after the battle concludes, but I don't have it anyway. If your shield is not magical, suffer a single point of damage, no safeguards, no protections. So I'm at a total of 7 points of damage with a lot of guys I need to hit. And anything else here? Roll for glory or remove my liability. Now, remove my liability could be good, but I think a glory here and maybe get some sort of option. A 1. A 1 for glory would say restore my luck or restore any magical item weakened by wear and tear. Now, if I had already used my luck, I could bring it back. Exercise opportunity knocks. That could mean employing a tactical advantage like my gambit. Now, my gambit is really only a level 1 gambit. You need to be like level 6 to make sure everything is automatically happening. Now, my gambit would be really good here because it's a bash gambit, but I only have a small chance. But instead, I could roll towards sorcery. And by rolling to Horde Sorcery, I could give myself maybe half a chance to survive this battle, because I will add a d6 to my equivalent level, a 6. So now I'm level 7 when I use my bash ability and knock these guys back, and hopefully I'll be able to do that next turn by surviving here. Gain the Fury, so I'm +1 on the next die roll, but there's still 9 of these guys fighting me. Here comes the die roll for the next. A 1 high, a 1. A 1 is terrible. Now, stunned, I would gain an XP, which normally would be very nice to have. I could slay somebody on the grid, and I could take my opportunity knocks. Interesting. Because if I take my opportunity knocks, are they going to move toward me? But because I have enemies abroad, which I do, I would take extra damage from this. But I would count the damage delivered by the non-humans all across the grid. Oh, they could deliver damage anywhere. So I don't want the stunned, all right? Let me push it up again to manhandle. Manhandle can only affect me if they're adjacent damage, but they will immediately take adjacent damage because they're all going to move toward me. If I push it 2, they're still moving toward me, and they're still doing a heck of a lot of damage to me. And I believe, that said, my character is going to die because I'm going to take another 5 points of damage, and I can only take 5 points of damage. I don't have any way of absorbing that. Even if I had my dirty tricks or luck, this 10 guys right on top of me, mobbed at the beginning of the game, that's the way the cookie crumbles. I have died. More later.